So, welcome to the first podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Ayurveda, yoga, Tantra, how this is one system of the same sister sciences. It's one part that we're going to look at most in depth today is the Ayurvedic leg, and how Ayurveda looks more at the body, yoga looks more at the mind, and then Tantra is about the energy. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into the body today and just exploring in particular Dinacharya. And Dinacharya is all about routine, lifestyle, creating a really solid foundation and a stable base that we can really elevate our lives from. And it's approached from this Ayurvedic lens, which is also looked at in a yogic sense in our daily practices, and how this can really support our own healthy routines and habits. Dina means day, and Acharya means conduct or practice, which I found out the other day, which I was having a little research into, which is really nice to just see a little deeper into this whole beautiful web of work that this yogic, Ayurvedic, tantric compounds into. So today I'm here with Leanna Biagioni, and Leanna is an Ayurvedic practitioner. She's also a body worker. She's had over 6 years of clinical experience in supporting different clients in a wide range of different health concerns, from chronic autoimmune conditions to everyday ailments. And she trained at the Ayurvedic Institute in the UK. And Leanna's journey began from her own search for healing after she had decades of severe skin and respiratory conditions that really continued to worsen despite conventional approaches. She really tries to embrace a different way and a different approach, and Ayurveda seemed to be the thing that cleared and supported her in the deepest way. So she wants to just come in today to just talk a little bit more about how that supported her and how that can also support you and maybe open you up to some different approach to life that's very holistic and just a beautiful approach to life and health. So in today's episode, she's going to share the wisdom around Dinacharya, and simply put, it's how can a daily routine become a sense of alignment with nature, and how simple, consistent practices can profoundly support and shape physical, mental, and emotional well-being that we have. So welcome, Leanna. Nice to
Thank you so much.
It's nice to be here, and thank you so much for joining me too. And
No, it's an honour to be here, and your first one as well. So I feel very honoured.
it's exciting. So we met back in when was it? We found out the other day. It was 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite some time ago now. It was 2019, and when I see how far you've come, and how much has changed, it's very profound, and I'm very proud to see where you are now.
Oh, thank you. It's so true what you said though about the foundations when we were speaking the other day, how creating these really solid foundations, and for me it was such a difficulty bringing in these routines. It's quite a lot when you're first starting out. So to see as you go along the journey how simplistic and how gentle these approaches are, but they create this beautiful holding space for you that when you do come away from them, you realize how much they do impact your life and how subtle and simple the changes are, but they compound into something so stabilizing in that bigger picture. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I always say that Ayurveda plants a seed, and it is considered quite subtle work. However, the wind can be very subtle, but it can also take down your house. So there's that too. That there's real power in subtlety, and in subtlety comes consistency and permanent change.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about it, isn't it? It's like figuring out what is actually supportive of you, where you're off, what you're kind of going to naturally because of that like attracts like, and
Absolutely, yeah.
how you can peel yourself away to come into these more simplistic approaches to life. So I'd love to really ask more about what's your approach and what you've learned along the way. But let's start with just tell me, what does Dinacharya mean to you?
Dinacharya, as you so beautifully put it, just basically means daily routine. And for me, one of the things that I've discovered through my clinical practice is that without a good daily routine, a lot of the foundations we put in, a lot of the changes that we put in, they struggle to stick, they struggle to root. So sometimes I have to go back to pure basics with people to make sure that those things are in place. And it doesn't have to be anything extreme either. It can simply be the time of day you're waking up. It could be that you're eating your main meal at lunchtime. It could be a whole host of different things, but it's really important that we have those regularities because our bodies work on cycles. The whole of nature is cyclical. If you look out there, the sun rises and sets, the moon is on a 28-day cycle, even the insects are in their cycle, and so are we. And one of the things that is really prevalent in the world these days is we are not really taking into account those cycles, and we're trying to push against it, particularly here in the West. It's like going against the tide all the time. So what we truly, truly need is them very, very simple things to keep us grounded before we can elevate ourselves to the next level. And there was something that I read this morning and I thought was quite profound, is that so many people are seeking something different, and they're not only disconnected from their own body, but they're disconnected from their essence, which means they just don't know what is good for them.
Mm.
So they're taking all of this information in from multiple different sources, and it's actually extremely damaging. And that's been one of the more negative aspects of social media, particularly where the health industry is concerned. People are seeking something that supports them, and they're getting so much information as they don't know where to start. So I think a simple Dinacharya as an introduction to Ayurveda is a very, very good place to start.
Yeah, definitely. That is so true as well. I remember when I first started working with you and you were like, stop taking the supplements, stop
What is it they call it?
self-prescribing.
Expensive urine.
Exactly. It's so true. And it's like we all mean well by trying to do all these different things and have all these different approaches, but really, that is so true what you said, that we're disconnected from our essence. And because of how we're living and because of how society is made to be rushed and you have to go to work, you have to do all these things, you have to have money, you're just trying to like do the best that you can, and then
By
you're,
treading water. And,
yeah,
we can't change that
yeah,
because this is where we live and how we live. And so instead, we've got to work around it.
exactly. And it's like sometimes you get overwhelmed with all these different things to do, but it's so true. If you have this daily thing that you're coming back to yourself, essentially, you're coming back to yourself every single day. And it doesn't have to be this elaborate 4 hour thing that you're doing in the morning. It can be the most simplistic thing to just ground you and give you those little aspects of connecting to your hygiene, connecting to your mind, connecting to your body, connecting to the foods that you're eating, and really understanding what is supportive of your specific needs. That's where we release so much of that extra expenditure of energy that we're wasting on trying to figure out what it is that we're doing, rather than just having these things that are very consistently, gently holding us and bringing us back to ourselves. And I think that was one of the major things that rerouted my own healing is the sleep
Yeah.
times and the wake up times. And sometimes, yeah, it's not always on point, and we have to give ourselves that grace that life is always busy and we're doing so many different things. But it's having the awareness, and now I have the awareness. I can feel when I'm pulling away from that, and it's like, whoa, 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 come on, let's come back to center. And that's the beauty of Dinacharya, is having that
Absolutely.
grounding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, say if somebody's like never heard of Ayurveda before, they've never kind of even had a routine for themselves, they almost feel like, oh, it seems luxurious in a way to have a routine for myself, or I don't have the time. So many people say
Mhm.
this. Like, what would be a good mindset to adapt to, or start to bring in, so that you could make that kind of easy transition from nothing to then building that foundation? What would you kind of suggest to someone just starting out?
Yeah, so there's a few things you can do. But I think one of the major ones, which is a pitfall that a lot of us do, is do not touch your phone until you have done your morning routine, whether that's going to the toilet, your oral hygiene, your shower, etc. Leave your phone at least half an hour to an hour after you've woken up, because the second we pick up our phone, we're aware of being needed. It's very much being pulled, being needed. We're checking on social media, we're looking at all different things, and we're absorbing. And our mind channels are extremely open and susceptible first thing in the morning. So the first thing that we input into our mind can have a big impact on the whole day. So if the thought of coming directly into an Ayurvedic Dinacharya seems a lot, something simple as not picking up your phone is a good place to start. And then the next thing that anybody can do is to tongue scrape. So as soon as you've brushed your teeth, stick your tongue out, get yourself a copper tongue scraper, and you can scrape downwards 5 times. And what that does is it removes any of the toxins that has come up from the digestive system overnight. So some of you might have noticed that when you look in the morning at your tongue, it'll have a white film on it. That is undigested food or armor, and your body is trying to chuck that out. So if we scrape that off, not only does it remove the toxins and you don't take it back in, but it's also stimulating the organs. So it's just giving you a nice fresh start to the day. So those are 2 very simple, easy things that absolutely anybody can do.
Yeah, I didn't know it stimulated the organs as well. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so it's one of the reasons why we say not to tongue scrape at night, because it'll stimulate the organs and you'll struggle to sleep because the body's like, oh, I'm waking up. But it's we need the opposite. We need to calm down. So only in the morning.
Yeah. And what would you say if somebody found that easy and they could implement that, and that was something that they, because that in itself, the way that we're living now can be quite difficult, just to not look at your phone first thing,
Yeah.
especially if you are a person that gets up and goes and you get straight into work and you don't have a routine for yourself. And what would you say is a really nice way of bringing like a wind down for somebody in the evening, just something really simple that they could start to add in just in that beginning journey again?
Yeah, again, removing screen time after a certain time of night, because that light towards the eyes is going to disrupt melatonin anyway. But you can do something as simple as just sitting and closing your eyes. A lot of people struggle with meditation. You don't need to go into this whole, huge meditative state for 45 minutes. It can be as simple as 2 to 3 minutes of peace and quiet. Sit down, close your eyes, and just breathe like 2 to 3 minutes. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Another thing that you can do, which is a little bit further along in terms of winding down before bed, is what we call pad abhyanga, which is just rubbing the feet with oil. And you can do this with coconut oil, which is particularly good in the summer. You can do it with sesame oil or even ghee if you have it. Have a look at your feet in the evening, just before bed, sit on the edge of the bed and rub the foot quite vigorously with different oil and get into the ankles and everything. You'll be really surprised how deeply you sleep
Yeah,
after doing yoga.
it's true. It's so true. I did a liver detox in the beginning of spring, and that was part of it to add in massage. And I was
Yeah,
thinking, I felt so good after. You feel so relaxed and so
you
calm.
do.
Yeah, and how often do we give our poor feet any attention? And that's such a beautiful way of,
And they carry us. They
yeah,
carry us all day. They are touching so many artificial surfaces in terms of shoes and all sorts. So it's really nice way to bring ourselves back down and to center the body and
mm,
to let go of the day.
yeah, and to really ground yourself back into yourself.
Yeah.
And I think also with the like taking the 2 to 3 minutes just before you're resting and going to sleep as well, that gives you that space to just process what's happened during the day sometimes as well. It's like your mind's going at 50 miles an hour the whole day, and then you expect it to go straight to sleep, and there's not that
Yeah.
pause or break, and it's like
So
one thing to the next. It's especially if you've
it,
got other dependents.
it doesn't take a lot of time. I mean, ideally, we could sit there for 45 minutes and go into a deep meditation. Yeah, that in an ideal world. But not all of us live that way. Not all of us have the opportunity to do that. Some of us have small children as
Exactly.
well. So
Yeah.
just taking that time to take some breaths for 2 to 3 minutes, it gives the mind the chance to settle down before we lay down, because otherwise we're running, like you say, so speedy in the brain, and then we lay down and expect to be able to switch off and
Mm.
wonder why we feel imbalanced.
Yeah,
We can't switch off.
yep. And also like having that compounding effect of every
Mm,
day approaching that dinacharya, that routine, to have those moments that you know is supportive of you. It's not taking you too far out of, okay, I've got to do another task, and then having to add on extra.
Yeah.
it's like it compounds over that great deal of time without it feeling like a rush.
And that's why I feel really passionate about Dinacharya, actually, and why I've decided to set up the workshop, because I really feel that it can fit in with what you're already doing, but it just needs to be small tweaks that are part of our Western crazy life that just make life more grounded, more stable, more peaceful, and allow us to move through with less friction.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And what would you say, a client or a case study that you've worked with before, what would you say is like a really beautiful experience that you've had with implementing that with a client that you saw a really
Yeah.
cool change? Could you give like an anecdote or just a little insight to something around that with a case study?
Yeah, of course. There's a lady I'm currently working with, actually. She came to me for chronic insomnia. And she hadn't been able to sleep through the night for many years. I think it was 10 plus years. And it was really affecting her life. As you can imagine, it was affecting her mind, her everyday ability to function. As most of us know, who've had any type of sleep deprivation, it feels like torture. It really, really feels very unpleasant. And with that, it disrupts everything else. Her digestion was disrupted, her mind was very unstable, and she was really struggling in life. One of the challenges I had was that this lady was also taking a lot of allopathic medicines, so our Western medicines that we get prescribed from the doctors, which really reduced what I was able to do with her from an Ayurvedic perspective, because usually I would be looking to prescribe herbal medicine. So I had to think outside the box. And in this case, we really focused on her dinacharya. We really focused on her daily routine, the time she woke up, what she did when she got out of bed, the tongue scraping, Nasaka oil in the nose, doing a full body abhyanga, taking the time to actually give herself some self-love through massage with the oil that will then penetrate and nourish the skin and calm the nervous system down. She then had a daily routine in terms of what she should eat, and then a routine of the in the evening. And her chronic insomnia came under control within 2 weeks. So
Wow,
it was quick. It was
that is
very,
profound.
very, very quick. And the second she moves out of that dinacharya, she notices a difference.
Yep, you really do. And that's the beauty of Ayurveda. It targets you individually. There's it's holistic
Yeah,
and it approaches all areas, but it comes in at what you specifically need and looks at the areas of life that are out of balance. And I think that's
yeah,
what's missing in so much of the Western world, because it's just a generalized plaster to go over everyone. And that's the nicest part about Ayurveda, about yoga, about tantra, all of these elements. It's really, what do you need, getting to understand yourself on a deeper level and really
yeah.
making life nourishing and nurturing for you specifically. So
It is truly individualized medicine, and that's what makes it so special. Is it's not one size fits all, and it's very much a case by case person. Even if 10 people have the same diagnosed disorder, I would not treat each and every one of them the same, because they're individual people with different body and mind types and different lives. So
yes.
it's important. It's very important that we recognise that, and even in a daily routine and dinacharya, it's important to recognise the limitations of the lifestyle and what that person genuinely needs at that moment.
Absolutely true. And so I'm really excited that you're going to be hosting a workshop with us at Embody on the 26th of July. And I would love for you to just kind of give a little overview of what you're going to be going into, what people can take away from that workshop, and yeah, just any other insights. It'd be lovely to know.
I'm really looking forward to it, and it will be my first ever workshop of this kind. So I feel very blessed to hold it at your space as well, Robin. So thank you. So the day, it will be a half day. So we're looking to do 11 till 3 o'clock, and it's on a Sunday. So we think that's a nice time for people to come along. I'm going to keep the spaces quite limited. I think we're going to say 8 to 10, so that it's very nurturing, and it means I can take the time to really support each and every person that comes along, so they feel like they go away with what they need. We're going to do an introduction to Ayurveda, an introduction to your Prakriti, which is your doshas, which we've spoke about very small amount. It is basically the software that runs the hardware of the body. And you've got your Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and it'll help you understand why you like the things you like. So a Vata person who's very out of balance tends to be the person who's running down the road at 6 a.m. and feels as though they need to do everything to the extreme, where it's the absolute opposite. They need to rest more. The Pitta type person is extremely driven, but they can also be quite rigid. And the Kapha person is very soft, very relaxed, but can be a little bit too relaxed and need a bit of a push. So it's helping you understand how much of those doshas that you've got, and it might help you understand who you are and what it is that you need. So we'll talk about the doshas. Then we will talk about a daily dinacharya, how to implement that, and we will work out per person what will suit you best based on your lifestyle. So we'll spend a bit of time talking about that, whether it's introducing Nasaka, Abhyanga, having certain structure around your food, certain practices. It might even be that there's a breath, something like Nadi Shodhana, which is simple alternative nostril breathing, which is really supportive too. So per each person, we will work out what's best for you. And you will go away with like a booklet with the information that you've learned of the day, your very own copper tongue scraper, and also access to my WhatsApp Ayurvedic community, which is really amazing because you'll be able to communicate with me as and when needed, and you'll also get the support from other people who are implementing the same thing. So it's nice to know that you're not alone in this, and it also helps with accountability. And I've done this myself with my own colleagues, my own Ayurvedic practitioner colleagues. We have our own Dinacharya group to keep ourselves accountable. And it's really helpful because it also brings us back in those moments where we feel frustrated because we feel like we've gone out of alignment. We realise it's actually okay. What's more important is the coming back.
Yes, exactly. And being around other like-minded people that are supporting you in that is so imperative.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing when we're shifting from one way of being to another, is having other examples around that to keep you anchored in. So that's really beautiful that you're offering that as well, that WhatsApp group. I'll link everything, your contact details, the link to the event as well, in the show notes, so people can get that straight away from there. And also I'll be sending out the information in my next newsletter so they can reach it through there as well. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, I'll put your details there as well, so if they can get in touch straight away. And yeah, I just wanted to end the podcast episode on a quote from Sandhya Jain. And it's really about how Ayurveda reminds us that health is not created through occasional effort, but the way that we live every single day. So Sandhya Jain says, discipline is the only path that takes you to achieve your goal. Without disciplined efforts on an everyday basis, nothing great can ever be achieved. And it's really about giving ourselves that good footing and that good foundation and that stability in order for us to achieve wellness, to achieve overall health, and to achieve that goodness in both body, mind, and spirit. So thank you so much, Leanna, for being here
Thank you
today.
so much for having me, Robin.
Absolute pleasure. So lovely to see you. I'm really, really excited for you to share your beautiful wisdom and knowledge and teachings to the people that are going to be joining you on the 26th of July. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.